There we go. Let's talk about some movies. It is 11:22. I'm going to try and talk until at least noon. Alright? A 3, and a 2, and a 1. Hey, it's Triple A, and welcome to Couldn't Scare Less. I'm your host, Trip, and this week, we're doing something different. I saw a YouTube video in my recommended that was a horror movie for every U.S. state. And I'm like, that's a neat idea. What if instead of trying to research where a bunch of movies take place, I recommend a horror movie you might not have heard of for every letter of the alphabet. This was surprisingly hard, took quite a bit of work. I'm going to go through each film, give a brief description, explain where it can be found, then share my thoughts on it. And we'll go from A all the way to Z. I've got one for all of them. I will not be sharing any spoilers or anything I deem as spoilers for any of these movies. Also, if you want to hear more about a specific film, if you're here from the TikTok rundown, you'll find the timestamps in the description and probably in the comment section as well. A of the ABCs is The Autopsy of Jane Doe from 2016. We actually covered this on the podcast, and I love this movie. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is about a father and son performing an autopsy on a Jane Doe, meaning an unidentified body. It can currently be found on Hulu, AMC Plus, as well as for free on Tubi. I don't have AMC Plus, but I used IMDB to find where all of these movies are streaming, and they use that, so it's one of the ones I have listed. Autopsy of Jane Doe is best gone into pretty blind, so you can enjoy the atmosphere and the scares and the mystery. I really enjoy it. It's got great acting from the two main characters, Brian Cox's Tommy and Emile Hirsch's Austin. Great movie. Most of these are movies I really enjoy. I'll highlight the ones that I think are the best here, and I do think Autopsy of Jane Doe is one of the best ones here. For B, we've got a weird one, our first of many, I think, pretty deep cuts. Blood Red Sky from 2021. It's a Netflix original German film that takes place on an airplane about a mother with a mysterious illness traveling with her child when a group of terrorists attempt to hijack the flight. The movie is entirely in German with English subtitles. I'm actually learning German, so this was actually a movie I watched to kind of test how I was doing with my German right around the 2-year mark. And I didn't really need the subtitles too much. I needed them for a few things, but I didn't need them for most of the movie. I'll be honest, I only knew one actor in this from beforehand. Dominic Purcell Berg is from the Arrowverse. I know him from that. This movie is not amazing. It's good. It's like a solid 6 out of 10, but it's not like exemplary. It's not genre defining. It's not game changing, but it's enjoyable. Also, apologies about my voice. I am still sick. I'm on the tail end, but y'all wanted this episode out, so it's coming out. For C, we have 1983's Christine, which is, yes, the Stephen King haunted car movie, directed by John Carpenter and written by Stephen King. I really enjoy this movie. Even as someone who's not typically a Stephen King's good. Alright, don't get me wrong. But I don't think all of his things are masterpieces. This is an enjoyable movie. Is it amazing? No, of course not. But it's a fun movie. I would put this probably a 7.5 out of 10. It's enjoyable. There's not too much mystery or even really any big scares in it. It's just an enjoyable, I think it's hour 45 or so. I'm gonna cut this out. Hopefully that's a nice seamless cut. And that's the A, B, and C. We are on to D. For D, I chose Dead End from 2003, which is a horror movie that takes place on Christmas Eve. It involves a family driving home from their in-laws. That's all I can tell you. This is one of my favorite horror movies in general. I would probably rate this like a 9 out of 10. I'm apprehensive to ever give a movie 10 out of 10, even if it's one of my favorites. I really, really like this movie. It does amazing work with a small budget. It's pretty much always tense, but with enough levity to not make it dreadful. And it's unique, it's creative. You don't really see some of the stuff coming. It's not like too out of the box, but it's pretty good, especially for, 2003. This movie holds up great. It's free on Freevee and Tubi. Highly, highly recommend watching it. And no, you don't need to wait for Christmas time. It's funny to watch it around Christmas time, but it is not Christmas stringent, I would say. The next one is E, and for E, I chose The Empty Man from 2020. This one is currently on Hulu. It's the next podcast episode. If you can, watch this movie completely blind. Don't even read the description. This is a movie that is exemplary, that is let down by how it is portrayed. If you go into this thinking it's going to be like Bye Bye Man or The Slender Man or whatever that weird, like, slasher movie with the smiley-faced, like, slasher thing. Basically, if you think it's going to be a Slender knockoff or just some weird urban legend teen slasher fest, it's not. Watch it. It's great. I don't want to say basically anything else other than it's not like those other movies. It's not a Bye Man. It's an amazing film. 9 out of 10. And maybe 8.5. It's very good, though. Especially for a pandemic movie. For F, we have Fear Street. Specifically, the trilogy that can be found on Netflix. Fear Street Part 1, 1994. Fear Street Part 2, 1978. And Fear Street Part 3, 1666. I couldn't choose just one for this. It's based on the R.L. Stine books of the same name. The best, I think, LGBT horror trilogy. Best LGBT horror series is obviously Chucky, which we'll talk about someday. But Fear Street is a nice, cohesive trilogy. I didn't really feel like I needed anything more. 3 movies, done, great. They're all 7 out of 10s or better. For G, we have Girl with All the Gifts from 2017, which can currently be found on Starz. This is one of the better kind of non-mainstream zombie movies. It's not like the dead actually coming back to life, which is why I say non-mainstream zombie movie. I really enjoyed this one. If you're like me and you need to go to Does the Dog Die, maybe steer clear from this one. Because animals get the short end of the stick in this movie. More so than in other zombie media. But I really enjoy The Hungries. I think the pandemic's interesting. And it's always an enjoyable watch, even on rewatches. Solid 6.5, 7.5 out of 10 for me. For H, we have another movie I want to say very little about. 2014's Honeymoon. It's about a honeymoon. You can find it on Hulu, Peacock, Prime, and as well as for free on Pluto TV and Tubi. Honeymoon is so good. Watch it. Don't let yourself get spoiled. It's a little strange, I'll admit. But if you can handle good but a little strange movies, it'll be an excellent heart-wrencher if you don't let yourself get spoiled. At the end of this, I'm planning on going back through and doing a slightly more spoilery talk through of each of these films, as to why they were chosen for their letter. This one, if you are fine with spoilers or have already seen it, stay tuned for the spoiler section because I'm excited to talk about it. Not quite pod length. Some of these have gotten pod episodes. Some of these will get pod episodes. I digress. For I, we have The Invitation from 2015. Not the vampire movie. after this came out, there was The Invitation. I think in 2020 or 2021, that's a vampire movie. This isn't that. Despite what the algorithm sometimes get confused by, like even on IMDB was like the top recommended picks were all vampire movies, and I'm like, no, silly, wrong movie. Again, a movie that's best not to hear too much about. It is about a man going to a dinner party hosted by his ex-wife, revisiting their old home for the first time since their divorce. Great movie. It was our first episode on the podcast, and can be found on Peacock, as well as for free on Tubi, Freevee, and Pluto TV. If you're not a horror movie fan, you can still watch The Invitation. It's a horror thriller. It's kind of on the line. I would say the same for Christine. Horror thriller on the line. Honeymoon, I could go either way on, but it's more horror than thriller, but I could see the argument for being an approachable movie for people who are new to horror. For Jay, this was a really hard one to find one for, because I hate Jeepers Creepers. I do not like it. So, I got stuck with Jason X from 2001, which was the only other J movie that's a horror movie that I could find that I like. You're like, what about Jason Goes to Hell? What about Jason Lives? What about Jason Takes Manhattan? One, Jason Goes to Hell is the only one of those that doesn't technically start with Friday the 13th part blank. However, I'm not huge on Jason Goes to Hell. It's okay, but I prefer this one, because this is a so bad it's good slasher in space. And we need so bad they're good movies. They're an important genre that exists. Ugh. There we go. Unfortunately, Jason X is not currently streaming anywhere, which sucks. But if you're able to find it, I recommend giving it a watch if you're also an enjoyer of so bad they're good movies. You don't even really need to have seen the other Friday the 13th films. I've only seen some of them, because I've seen the first one all the way through, and I'm like, wow, that sucked. And then I watched the second one, and I'm like, wow, that kind of sucked too. So I kind of skipped around. I learned the general lore, and then I just kind of skipped around watching the ones that were good. Or at least were palatable. For K, we have Killer Clowns from Outer Space from 1988. It can be found on Prime as well for free on Tubi. And Killer Clowns from Outer Space is what it sounds like. Alien clowns. If you don't like clowns, and don't want to see a movie full of clowns, don't watch this one. It's Scary Clowns, the movie, with aliens. It's only PG-13, technically. So if you're looking for a kind of a teen scream, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a solid pick. If they like that kind of thing. It's silly. It's not too silly. It's kind of silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's also surprisingly creepy, and it's got some genuinely solid scares, good practical effects. I really enjoy it, and I'm glad that... Oh, excuse me. I'm glad it's getting more mainstream attention these days. For L, we have Last Shift from 2014, which I actually learned prepping for this video. The director, Anthony de Blasi, remade this movie in 2023 called Malum. Which, strange. Strange decision. I haven't seen Malum yet. But Last Shift is a very good, low budget, but good haunted night in a police station. But I'll say, if you're new to horror, don't start with this one. It's It's a bit graphic for its subgenre. This one also will probably be you'll probably see this on the pod in the next couple weeks. Whether or not I'll cover Malam or alongside it, with it or separately, is undecided for me at the moment. But I think Last Shift has some... it's about a cop. And it has some interesting things to be said in that kind of social commentary vein that I'm interested to dig into. But I should probably see Malam first in case they cover it more verbatimly in Malam. So I can't recommend Last Shift versus Malam at the moment, because I've not seen Malam. But Last Shift can be found for free on Tubi at the moment. For M, we have what I genuinely think is one of the most underrated zombie movies in all of existence. I'm a big zombie movie fan, as I've mentioned before. Is Maggie from 2015, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as the protagonist. Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger horror movie. It's great. It's heart-wrenching. It's beautiful. It's only PG-13 as well, so solid teen scream movie. It's not very scary, but it's not trying to be, and that's why I like it. If you like that kind of dread you can get from horror, this is an excellent choice for that kind of dread. And can be found on Prime as well as for free on Pluto TV. For N, we have Night of the Comet. Not Living Dead. Considered it, but everyone knows about that movie. This is Night of the Comet from 1984. Technically a zombie movie, but admittedly barely. It's a, how do you describe Night of the Comet? It's a bit like Dawn of the Dead, with the feeling of no one. Nothing but bodies everywhere. 28 Days Later, similar. Very small cast. The world is big, but the people are few. And you get some good... I would say one of the better 80s horror protagonists. Let me specify. One of the better 80s horror female protagonists. She's not, like, perfect. She's no Alan Ripley. I don't think Alan Ripley's perfect, but she's not... She's like 50-50 on whether... I'm like 50-50 on whether she's a good feminist interpretation or not. I really struggle to tell. Because it really depends on what scene you're looking at and through what lens you try to look at it through. I really enjoyed it. It's a horror sci-fi for sure. It's got some solid sci-fi. And again, only PG-13. Not too violent. This kind of... I didn't intend it at the time of writing the script. But a lot of these movies are good, movies if you're new to horror as well. Which was a happy accident. For O, we have yet another amazing zombie movie. This is the one I think might be the best zombie movie, though. Or at least the most underrated. Overlord from 2018. Not streaming anywhere. But this is a World War II zombie movie. And that's all I'll say in the non-spoiler section. I wouldn't even tell you if it was a zombie movie if it weren't for the fact that this movie clearly advertised itself as an action horror zombie movie in World War II. It's amazing. The practical effects are great. The acting is superb. There's genuinely some good horrifying scenes if you like your scares. And it's freaking produced by J.J. Abrams. What more can I say? Also, shout out to Wyatt Russell from MCU fame, as well as from, I believe he's in Invitation, isn't he? Isn't he in Invitation? Brian is buffering. Why did I think he was in The Invitation? Now I'm struggling to remember who plays the main character in The Invitation. Oh, no, that's Logan Marshall Green. That's Logan Marshall Green. I don't know why I mixed them up. Is there... Sorry for the weird tangent in between ones here. Is there a Wyatt Russell horror movie I'm forgetting about besides Night Swim? with Wyatt Russell? Because I know he's in Night Swim. I don't know. My brain is mush. I am sick, as I mentioned, so I'm not totally surprised at it. My brain is kind of just falling apart like a poorly formed lasagna while I'm trying to do this. Anyways, back to the letterness. For P, we have Poltergeist from 1982. Written by Steven Spielberg. Kinda. It's not his script, but he made Poltergeist from a different script called Night Skies. Talked about this in the Discord, actually, if you're in there. But E.T. and Poltergeist actually started as the same horror movie script, Night Skies. He just split the script into two different movies, E.T. and Poltergeist. It was nominated for 3 Oscars. There were not many options for P that I had seen. So I went with Poltergeist, which is maybe my favorite ghost movie. It's very good. Whether or not it's definitively my favorite ghost movie is kind of hard to tell. But it's technically PG. It's not that scary, but it's very good, especially for the younger demographic it's aimed at. For Q was a hard one. For Q, we have Quarantine from 2008, which you can currently find on Max. I chose Quarantine for Q, because it starts with Q. However, watch Rec as well. Arguably, watch Rec first. Quarantine is the American remake of a Spanish zombie movie. I think Rec is one of, if not the best, found footage movies. Hands down. Quarantine is almost a shot-for-shot remake of that movie in English. If you like found footage and you like zombies, watch this and or Rec. If you cannot stand movies that are not in English, watch Quarantine. If you can enjoy, regardless of language, do Rec, maybe come back to Quarantine, because Quarantine does do some things differently. It has some small deviations, not many. But I thoroughly enjoy them both. I do prefer Rec quite handily, but some bias might be there as I am Hispanic and I know Spanish. I'm not fluent, but again, being able to understand the language and not having to rely strictly on the subtitles helps for foreign language movies for me, which is why Blood Red Sky, and I'm talking about Rec here in the Quarantine section. Though I didn't choose Rec for R, because that would seem like cheating. So instead, I chose 2018's Ritual, or The Ritual, which can be found on Netflix. 2017. I had the year wrong on my little rundown sheet. That's my bad. Go into this completely blind. Go into it very blind. Me levels of blind. Joke at my own expense. This movie is fantastic. It's like a more bearable... It's a less, like, viscerally destroying inside your soul Midsommar, is what I can compare it to. It gives me the same vibes as Midsommar, but not the same kind of horrific. No essay scenes, which is why I don't like Midsommar as much as I used to, because I found I can't rewatch the film without skipping a whole section. Watch Ritual, don't get spoiled, enjoy it, it's freaking incredible. Great mystery thriller and twisty aspects. I've also seen it compared to The Witch, or The Witch, depending on what you want to call it. I think it's a valid parallel to make, at least visually speaking. Plots are very different, though. And unfortunately, it's a Netflix exclusive. I don't love Netflix as a company, but what can I say? They've got some really good originals on there. For S, we actually have last week's podcast episode, or I guess a week and a half ago, because sickness, Splinter, from 2008. This can be found on Hulu, Prime, as well as for free on Tubi, Pluto, and Freevee. Splinter is another zombie movie. He's got spiky zombies. They're kind of thing-like zombies. One of my favorite, more unique interpretations of the zombie infected. Is great. Watch it. Though while we're talking about, again, this is a movie you don't really want to get anything spoiled for. It's hard to get stuff spoiled for, but you can, technically speaking. So I won't talk about it too much in this non-spoiler section. But also, if you don't like seeing animals get hurt, don't watch this one. Well, I mean, no one likes seeing animals get hurt, or at least I hope not. But if you can't handle animal stuff, skip on Splinter. For T, I chose a very deep cut, because there are so many good ones that start with T, and I ruled out all the ones that have the word "the" in the front, which admittedly narrowed the list down a lot. I chose They Look Like People, an unrated 2015 indie film that you can currently find on Freevee and Tubi. Directed and written by Perry Blackshear. Go into this blind. Again, the title tells you all you really need to know. They look like people. It is a... can I say that? Or does that count as a spoiler? Oh, screw it, I'll say it. It's not technically a spoiler. This movie is similar to Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Assimilation and movies in that vein, but it's different, it's unique from those, and it stands out. Great watch. It's kind of got a hybrid found footage feel. It's amazing. Especially for the microscopic budget. Won 9 awards. I think multiple, at least one of those was did it win a Saturn? I don't know. I don't think it won a Saturn, but it won several other things, including most innovative film in 2015 at Fantasia Film Festival, which is pretty solid. Ooh. Coming down to the end here, we have You for Urban Legend from 1998. It's a slasher, but it's a good one. It's better than your Friday. It's okay. I'll admit, I understand the influentialness of things like Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw. I actually really enjoy Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm not as big on the other two I just mentioned. I Know What You Did Last Summer. I understand like those kind of the influence of those. This is better. If you want a good teen slasher, this is better. And it is a more unique premise. There's not as many of them. There's 3 urban legend films. They're all pretty different. Oh, that's a lie. Urban Legend 2, that's the final cut, is pretty similar. Urban Legends 3 is quite different. I chose Urban Legend, the first one, as that's the best of the 3, in my opinion. For some reason, Jared Leto's in this, which I totally forget every time. Also, Julian Richings. Dude's in everything at this point. He's in this. Quite a few kind of more recognizable names. I'm again not going to spoil too much about Urban Legend because slashers are best when you can figure out who did it and stuff. For V, we have The Vigil from 2019. I love this film. I am not a Jew. However, this is about a Jewish... is he... I don't think he's a rabbi. But, anyways, it is tradition for... I think he's a rabbi. He might be. In Jewish culture, for someone to stay with a dead body, kind of... It's basically the vigil. That's what the name suggests. And it's really good. It's another kind of haunted house feeling kind of film. Kind of ghost adjacent. And it's very good. It's Keith Thomas's electrifying future debut, according to IMDB. Which I also know he directed Firestarter, I think. Which I have seen but barely remember. I really enjoy The Vigil. I think it's very underrated. It's currently on AMC Plus and Hulu. Would You Rather from 2012 is our W, as we're nearing the end here. We covered this on the podcast. It can be found on AMC Plus, Hulu, as well as for free on Tubi. Stars probably one of my favorite actors in all of horror, Jeffrey Combs. this movie will get compared to things like Saw. It's not Saw. It's definitely similar to Saw. I handled this much easier than I can handle Saw right around the same time. And the ending is tragic, but great. Also, shout out to the protagonist is Brittany Snow, who you may also know from X, which is one I mentioned earlier, and we're going to get to in a second, as well as Pitch Perfect. Wild career that she's had. And here we are. We're at X. X from 2022 is our X for the XYZ. I do not typically like horror movies with a lot of nudity in them. So this was a hard watch for me. A lot of nudity in this movie. Like an absolute ton. If you can handle that, then X is a good... It's Ty West. He's not really made any terrible movies. Also, star-studded cast. Fairly star-studded. I knew, like, almost everyone in this film from other things. Also, shout out to Jenny Ortega, who you probably know from the new Screams. Yes, I did not choose Scream as S, because, again, I was trying to do movies you might not have heard of. Some of these I just didn't have choices, like this one. I couldn't find anything else that started with X, but I do genuinely enjoy this movie, even though it was a little bit of a hard watch for me, as I'm not great with sexual content or nudity. But this movie has interesting theming about the concepts of nudity and sexualization in film and in life. Recommended. I won't say anything further. For Why, we have You're Next from 2011, which can currently only be found on Cinemax's Prime Video channel, or you can just buy it or find it somewhere. It's been out for a while, so you can secondhand. I see this one at secondhand places all the time. Movie won a ton of awards, and for good reason. There weren't many letters for Why. I couldn't find any like movies that I'm like, oh, that's a good deep cut. Also, funnily enough, Ty West is in this. I just realized. I forgot he's in this movie. It is the best home invasion film, second only to The Strangers. The Strangers is better than this, ever so slightly. It's very close. But Erin, played by Sharni Vinson, is one of my favorite horror protagonists. Who isn't from, like, a series. She's awesome. Up there with... what's that movie with the board games and the explosions? Hide and Seek? No, not Hide and Seek. It's about hide and seek. It's called Ready or Not. There we go. Thank you, brain. It's very similar in my mind to Ready or Not. It has a very similar energy. I highly recommend You're Next if you're able to find it. And last but not least, we have Zoo from 2018. You can find it on Crackle, or I found it for free on Tubi. I don't know what frickin' Crackle is. I think this is up there with They Look Like People as like the indiest indie on here. The IMDB page doesn't even have like an auto-playing trailer or anything like that, or like a screen cap. It just has like a small picture of the cover off to the side with like nothing in where that you see like that video bar normally that auto plays. There's nothing there. This is a British zombie movie about a couple that was kind of on the rocks, nearing divorce at the start of a zombie apocalypse. It's a very good movie. It's a little known gem that I thoroughly enjoy. It's, without spoiling too much, go into it blind and just enjoy the experience that is this movie. The zombies, it's not too graphic either. It is unrated, but most of that is because of its fact that it's, you know, a very indie movie. So it didn't get rated, because that happens a lot with indie horror. And that is the spoiler-free discussion of A through Z, all these movies. I'm going to kind of do my best to go back down through and... Do I want to try and kind of like rank each of these? Let's do a little bit of a ranking. I just suggested to you 26 plus movies, because I talked about more than 26 movies in this video. What were the 5 best from this list? The 5 best horror movies on this list, in no particular order: Empty Man, 2020, can be found on Hulu. Ritual, 2018, can be found on Netflix. What's after that? So many of these are so good, it's just kind of hard. Overlord, 2018. Poltergeist, 1982. And my 5th pick will be Dead End, 2003. Those, I would say, in no particular order, are my 5 favorite of these. If you would like I'm now going to try and run through, real quick here, at the end, and kind of give, like, alternatives. I was originally going to do spoiler talk about each, real quickly about these. I don't really think that's necessary. Especially because I have covered several of these already, and I plan to cover a couple of them again. Not again, but I plan to cover a couple more. I'm going to mention some other movies that came to mind for some of these letters that I had more than one of. For A, there weren't too many A's, but some other A movies that I recommend looking into. And The Apocalypse. It's a musical horror movie. Obviously, The Alien and Aliens. Always Watching, the Marble Hornets story, is very good as well. And can I think of any other A's that aren't like the letter A and then text? Zombies. Zombies is good too. I considered that for Z, but I ended up deciding not to do a zombie movie for Z because I thought it would be fun that way. B was Blood Red Sky. Can I think of any other good B horror movies, and not B as in like the ranking? Barbarian. We talked about that on the podcast, 2022. But that one kind of blew up, got some mainstream notoriety, why it wasn't mentioned. The Blob, 1988, one of my favorites. But again, people know about that one. The Battery, 2017, solid zombie movie. Not as good as Blood Red Sky. The Battery's okay. It's a little overrated among the people who know that it exists. The Boy from 2016, very good. Bride of Reanimator, 1989. Great. Babysitter and Babysitter Killer Queen are both okay. I like Babysitter better than Killer Queen. Killer Queen, I have very mixed feelings on still. I think I need to rewatch it. To see if I'll enjoy it better the second time around. The first time, it just kind of fell flat for me for some reason, and I can't tell if it was headspace when I was viewing it or what, but it just kind of felt meh. Also, 2017's The Bar, which is a Spanish film. C, I had Christine as my choice. Can I think of any other good C's? Child's Play, obviously. Cooties, solid zombie movie. I can't think of any other C's. Is it really just those two? Oh, Countdown. Countdown from 2020 was okay. The Crazies, very good. I prefer the remake. And Cargo, 2018. And Cell, 2016. Those are 2 other C zombie movies. So many zombie movies and so many types. Thank you, Brain, for your help there. Oh, also, freaking hate the Cabin in the Woods movies. Not Cabin in the Woods. I like Cabin in the Woods. Cabin Fever is what I'm thinking of that I don't like. A lot of C's. I could probably name like another 5 or 6 C movies, but I'll move on. Obviously the Chuckies. Curse of Chucky is great, and the Child's Play, as I mentioned earlier. D, Dead End was my choice. 2010's Devil is also a masterpiece. There's a Barky Dorg. Barky Dorg! There's a Barky Dorg! I'm just gonna keep talking. She'll stop. I know the dog. They're fine. Other D movies, Dead Snow is solid. I'm not a fan of the sequel as much. And that's the only one that comes to mind, besides Dead End, which is the one I chose. which I already said. Uh, Empty Man. E for Empty Man, I think, was the only one I could think of at the time, besides Evil Dead. And I love Evil Dead, and Evil Dead Rise is freaking fantastic. But very well known. F, I had Fear Street. Can I think of any other Fs? The Faculty, but I didn't enjoy that very much. You got anything else in there, brain? Forever Purge? It was okay. It was good. I would go so far as to say it's good, but people know about the Purge movies. Also, choosing Forever Purge specifically is a weird pull, because it's not the best Purge. It's just not. G, I had Girl with All the Gifts. 95% sure I didn't have a single other G movie. That, not rated G, but started with G, that I could think of at the time of working on this script. I had a couple that G was like the second word, like Suburban Gothic. But couldn't find any other first letter G's. H, I had Honeymoon, from 2014. It was very close between Honeymoon and Hell House, LLC. I recently discovered the Hell House franchise, watched them all, from LLC, the director's cut, all the way through to Carmichael Manor, 2023. Great series, highly recommended if you enjoy found footage. Honeymoon is better, but Hell House is a very good found footage series if you enjoy Hell House. If you enjoy found footage, but you can kind of ignore Lake of Fire. I do not enjoy Hell House 3 Lake of Fire all that much. It's freaking weird, man. For Aya, The Invitation, I mentioned there was the other Invitation movie that came to mind. 2022's. It was not 2021 or 2020. I checked just now. It is 2022. And that was the only I that came to mind for me, besides In the Tall Grass, which I don't think is very good. Oh, It Follows. It Follows is also frickin' incredible. Great movie. Also, just remember one for B, was Black Phone. That was the other consideration for B. One of the other considerations for B. For J, Jason X. Only one I could find, besides Jeepers Creepers, and I don't like Jeepers Creepers. Moving on. For K, I had Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Another one I didn't have too many for. And that's fine. Like, there's a couple, like, when I looked it up, I found a couple movies that started with the title, but started with the K in their title, but they didn't actually jump out to me, so I didn't watch any of them. L, Last Shift. Lots of L's. I'm not going to go through here and just list a bunch of L films. There are a lot of L films. I'll just move on to the next letter. M for Maggie. The Mist was our second podcast episode. I think I did Invitation then Mist, so I think Mist was the second podcast episode. Excellent. Mayhem, we also covered here on the podcast. Two great movies that start with M. And The Menu, 2022. Oh, wow. That's another one that's on my upcoming list, is The Menu. A lot of M's. When we get to more of these more frequently used consonants, you're going to see, I'm going to have a lot more that come to mind when I read them. N, I had Night of the Comet. There's obviously Night of the Living Dead. What is with my neighborhood? Now there's a motorcycle just idling outside. Lovely. But I'm already so deep in this script at this point, who's even still listening? Night Watchman from 2017 is also a solid N. And it's the only other one that comes to mind. O, I had Overlord. Didn't have many of these for O. I had Overlord, and I had... on my phone, I wrote down some contenders. That's what I'm using to reference some of these. Old was the other one I had. 2021's Old. But I think more people know about Old. Oh, and Orphan. Orphan's also solid. Outpost is one I watched. I liked it, but its sequel made it less good. As sometimes happens with indie horror sequels, and just horror sequels in general. For P, I had Poltergeist. Did I have any other considerations for the letter P? I think Poltergeist was one of the first ones I figured out I was going to cover on the list. So I don't think I did that much searching for the letter P. But I'm going to quickly see if I can think of any other ones that start with P, and I got nothing. No, nothing, brain. Good job. Q is quarantine. I didn't have any other one for that. R is ritual. There's so many R's, I'm not going to go through and name them all. I'll just name 3 more. Ready or Not, which I talked about earlier. Return of the Living Dead. Another zombie bull. I'm a zombie movie person, what can I say? And Resident Evil. Several R's. S, I had Splinter. There's so many S's again. I'm not going to go through and name a bunch. I'll name 3 real quick. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Big fan of that. Snakes on a Plane I actually saw recently for the first time. I found that pretty funny. It's a horror comedy if you enjoy those. And Scanners, if you like an oldie but a goodie. They Look Like People was my T. I had a lot of T's. They Live was another one that I considered. Lots of movies start with the word the, but I try to discount those. Other T's rather would be Tremors. I like the Tremors movies. Trick or Treat is, I think, my favorite Halloween movie, like my favorite horror movie that's about Halloween specifically. I had Urban Legend, the only one I had, I believe. Would You Rather for W. I think that was the only one I had. Oh no, Wishmaster. Oh, I love the Wishmaster films. Great movies. They're not all great, but the later ones are so bad they're good. Also, Willy's Wonderland if you enjoy something a bit FNAF-esque. For X, I had X. Obviously the only one I could find. For Y, I had You're Next. Again, I think the only one I was able to find at the time. Quiet Watch. I know it's afternoon. Thank you. And then finally Z, I had Zoo, 2018. I had other Z movies. Did I have other Z movies? I don't think I wrote any other Z movies down, because again, I think Zoo was one of the first ones I figured out. Because I had just rewatched Zoo. I think it was after rewatching Zoo, I went on YouTube and saw the video that inspired this script. And that's ABC's of Horror. Hope you enjoyed that. It was a bit of more of a rambly kind of recommend movie kind of deal. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have anything off the wall like this that you want to suggest, put it down in the YouTube comments or tweet at ScareLessPod on Twitter. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.